All right, so with our handsome Mr. Teddy, you ready, sir? Good job checking in. So I know we left off a little bit with Miss Ruby when she was working a little bit with the pause up or step up. So I know I had quickly dived into how it can be really helpful for front end and hind end awareness. This can also turn into pivoting exercises later or platform work, which can really be helpful for conditioning of their body and making sure that as they're growing and maturing, they're also using their bodies properly. So the benefit of sometimes also doing the pause up or step up, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, was helping your pup do something instead of the skill you weren't loving. So sometimes, as I mentioned with my other dog, he really likes going and targeting with his front feet onto items. So this could be another great way to redirect your puppy. Like, let's say here comes company, or for example, you're out on that walk in front of your home a little bit and there's something going on. You could ask him to go target a thing. So that could be sometimes putting his feet up on, let's say, the curb of the roadway, or maybe putting toes on to if there's like a boulder or a stump, like I mentioned a little bit earlier with Miss R. So I was just kind of seeing if he'll do a couple little find its, and we'll warm up a little bit with some name recognition. Teddy. Yes, good job. He's already so winded. They've been doing a really nice job engaging with each other, going out for potty breaks and doing some play. So we might get a little sit with him. Yes, what a good job. So I'm going to try and see if we can do a little bit with our pause up or step up. We'll just start off in sort of the middle zone. If he's gotten a little bit bigger, which I know he has, we may find that I might have to double up on the bowls, but I'm going to see if his little frame can hold, or the bowls can hold his frame. So again, I'm just kind of trying to lure over the target. In the beginning, he's a little bit unsure. Ready? He's like a moose. So close. So we're just waiting for those toesies to hopefully hit the target. Almost. He's like, lady, I'm so hungry and I don't quite. Yes, nice job. So right there, beautiful. So we'll lean him over just a little bit. Yes, so we can have both those toesies. Nice job. He's like, that was really hard. So if, again, trying something that is not one of his usual go-to dance moves, remember that it can take a little bit of practice to kind of finesse it, especially if he's going from one big growth spurt to another. So he's only gained, like, again, like a few pounds here and there. Right there, yes. I'm a feed for that. Gorgeous. Nice work. He's like, thank you. What a smart boy. So right now I haven't even mentioned like the cue word. I'm also mostly just luring him onto the position, kind of like I did with Miss R earlier. He's not always certain as to what we're doing. So as opposed to me saying the slow, oh, chew them. As opposed to me saying it over and over while he's not able to do it, and then he might lose out on the meaning behind the cue word, I'm just going to help him by physically helping him get there by luring. Eventually, you would again fade out this lure. You might go pause up or step up, see if they can go ahead and hone in on the target. He's like, my brain is slightly melted. Nice, almost. So I'm using just like my hand to try to coax him onto the platform. He has gotten so much bigger now compared to like when we first started. Yes. So right there, I didn't have anything in my hand. I was just trying to help him hone in on my hand as almost like a visual target. And then once he's got the two front feet on there, I'm going to feed him for that. Nice. Good job. So again, we're going to try maybe one more time. So I'm going to do a little find it to help him get up and off the platform. Teddy, come. So we'll work a little recall right there. Oh my goodness, so tired. Chew them. And it is a little bit warmer out today, which is kind of lovely. So he might be a little bit slower. I feel like with the big boys that are very fluffy as well, they tend to get hot kind of quick. And come summer, you may find he may not enjoy the warmth as much as we do at times. So right here, yes, and I'll feed him for that. Nice, good job. So we're just trying to get him in the groove of figuring out what the heck the criteria is for reinforcement. And for right now, it's going to be anytime we put those front feet onto the bowl, good things happen. Nice. So again, remember, I know we were discussing a little bit earlier with Miss R, the confidence building class that's coming up. I know you guys were interested in it. And I did mention, feel free to register if it seems like a good fit for your schedule. I think it's going to be really nice. Good job. Really important for him as he's going from puppyhood into adolescence to keep trying new things, but at his rate. So he keeps building his resilience and comfort and confidence. Because if, let's say, again, we kind of did a cool couple things while he was a baby, and then we kind of don't do as much novelty, the novelty later come teenagehood can be a little bit spooky. So close right there. Yes, nice job. So if, let's say, he's starting to get a little bit more finessed with targeting his paws up or step up, I'm going to go ahead and then ask him to potentially offer it. So right now we're still doing a lot of nice, that was beautiful, some jackpots on there. So ready, step up. Where'd it go? Yes, nice, good job. Oh my gosh, the amount of saliva. The St. Bernard is definitely starting to come out a little bit more often now with the jowls and the slime. Yes, nice job. So again, we'll try another little paws up or step up. Yes, look at this brilliant boy. Nice job, sir. So this can be another just great way to throw in some novelty, but also just give him something easy peasy to work on. Ready? Paws up. He's like almost. He's like a little bit of a wild man. Yes, nice job. He just doesn't always know where his front end is. Good job. Yes, so smart. So, but when practicing, make the skills seem easy peasy and attainable. Ready? Paws up. He's like, what if you jump over it? Yes, nice. Good job. So you can see how when he first started, it wasn't quite as fluid. Now he's getting a little bit more into the groove. He's starting to understand, saliva slime. So he's starting to understand, oh my gosh, minus the chewing part is always hard for them. But he's starting to get much better. Oh my goodness, did you get it okay? Better? Maybe you should go grab a drink, you silly goose. Sometimes it's his kibble gets a little bit stuck as he goes to not chew it. Was that better? Oh my goodness, good job. So we'll try once more. We'll start over here since he's kind of on this next bowl. We'll do a little paws up. Yes, smart man. So I'm just breaking up those Bill-Jack treats also into itty bitty morsels. So even if you guys have smaller training treats, I would recommend that you break them smaller than maybe they can come. Some of them are very little, which is nice. Paws up. Yes, but then others are quite large. So remember again, if he's going through a lot of food, which is, again, he's a growing boy, so I'm not worried about his weight. But I'd make sure for like tummy troubles or tummy upset that he's not getting only training treats. You might also rotate through treats mixed in with his kibble. So you're creating a trail mix. He's just gonna go grab a drink of water over there. And so when working with your beauties, if you're finding they're going through a lot of snacks and they've got sort of sensitive tummies, I would almost recommend to create a little goodie bag of dry snacks or freeze-dried goodies and mix it with some of your puppy's kibble. Excuse me, and then that way the kibble starts to smell like the more potent, stinky snack. So right now he's just gonna have a little bit of a drink. He did go out for a restroom break and he did a real good job. So he says, I'm almost done. He's gonna drink the whole bowl maybe. But with the handsome guy, I know you guys were also starting to implement kind of using his leash in the home at times and using his little corralled section when needed. So that way he is kind of, again, in the groove of practicing what you'd like him to do instead of the inappropriate skills you're not a huge fan of. Teddy, come. Slowly but surely. Good job. And you can tell he's definitely had a growth spurt because his caboose is now, he's a bit butt high, which is fine. So we might go again and try again with our paws up. Yes. So eventually you'll see that I tend to use my hand like a pointing to the item. So you guys may find that targeting in the beginning by luring him there and then fading out the lure and then using your hand and your verbal cue and then feed for when he does accomplish the skill. So again, we might do paws up. He's like, did you throw it? Paws up. Yes. What a brilliant boy. And then we feed a couple little tidbits for being on that spot. Such a smart boy. Yes. So good. And again, these are his little treats ripped up. So we might do again. He's like, oh, I'm getting so tired. Ready? Paws up. Yes. Look at that brilliant boy. So smart. So obviously with the paws up exercise, this is just great for trying novelty, getting your puppy to realize they've got a front end and potentially a hind end. I do want to try a little bit with, I'm going to put two bowls together and I want to try a little bit with some hind end awareness. So this is where you're going to try, he's helping, you're going to try and get your puppy to realize they've got a butt. So what I mean by that is a lot of puppies don't realize, I'm just going to do a couple find its as I'm blabbing to keep them entertained. So with front end and hind end awareness, this can help prevent injuries down the road. This can get a dog that understands they've got a hindquarters. It's also just great for conditioning to get your puppy to also be able to pivot. Pivoting can also really help with like loose leash walking and or heel positions down the road. So for starters, you could warm him up by doing a spin and a twirl. So it's up to you guys, whatever feels comfortable. Just getting your puppy to be able to follow your lure and have them do one circle in one direction and a circle in the other can be really helpful in general for their bodies. So we might go, and I'm not even going to pick a word for it, but I'm just going to do a little bit of a spinning movement and feed for that. So first we might try a couple moments in one direction, and then we might try the opposite direction. So again, this can just be helpful for other things down the road, but it also gets him to turn and stretch and move his body, which is really good for him. So again, we're turning and getting him to move around and then feed for that little twirl or spin. So now let's say, for example, you've done a couple of those, it's getting more comfortable. You can eventually put it on a cue word. If you prefer, if it makes more sense to you, like left spinning versus right spinning, and then that way you might say left or right, but it's up to you guys. Some people do spin is one direction and twirl is another. So again, whatever makes sense to you. So we're gonna try once more for our paws up. Oh, he's like, how about a down? Oh, he's so tired. That's very nice. Not exactly what I was thinking, but still very pretty. He's like, and I'm gonna nap right here. What a tired boy. So if he's a little bit pooped out, ready? I'm gonna do a little find it just to get him up and wiggling. He says, I only have so much in me, woman. So we're gonna try again with our paws up. Yes, nice job. So when doing some pivoting, what I recommend is the first step is just getting your puppy comfortable going on a platform like target like this. Then what I'd recommend is take your food and slightly move it to the side and see if yes, the moment his hind end takes a little step to the side, you're gonna feed for that. He's like, whoa, yes. Again, he's a little bit of a drunken sailor sometimes. He doesn't realize where his butt is. If it's easier, you can also twirl him this way. Yes. But the main goal is make sure that you're not adding pressure in the sense of pushing into him. So I will, again, have the food. He's like, lady, this is so cute. Oh, what a good job. So I'm going to go ahead and feed him for any time his little hindquarters take a little side step right there. Yes. So this can be just great in general for your puppy to start learning that they have a back end. Nice job. I'm going to give him just a little breather, get off the target spot and take a little find it moment. But pivoting is just one more fun skill to work on. So when it's cruddy outside or you're busy with the littles and you only have so many moments to work a few skills, it's like, I'm gonna go take a break over here. And you only have so many moments to take to practice. This could be, okay, you're loading the dishwasher and maybe you do a little pivoting, or you are loading the dishwasher and maybe you set up his cot and then we work on that because he's looking really pooped out. So maybe I'll grab his dog bed and we'll try a little bit with that place behavior. And sorry, I'm out of range for a second. Ready, sir? Let's see if we can go ahead and practice our lovely dog bed. So we'll go ahead. He's like, yes, please. Yeah. So right here, yes, I'm going to mark these moments where he's on the target bed. And then we're maybe going to throw in a little bit with that stay. So if, again, this is more challenging for him, don't add lots of distances, distractions, and time frame all at once. So make sure you're doing like one of those things at a time and then build on those and then eventually rotate through the three and then later combine them, but at a rate where he's still being successful. So if let's say he's tired, we might rock that down. Gorgeous. Now I'm going to tell him to stay. And I'm going to go ahead and feed him for not being too far from him for right now. I just want him to build up the duration. And we'll see how this stay is coming along. He says it's not too shabby. And all the babes are doing a real nice job probably taking a nap right now too. So because they rotate through their day, working skills, coming out for potty breaks, and then again doing some playtime. Yes. So let's say Mr. T is feeling pretty comfortable in the sense that he's kind of a little tired. So sometimes when your babes are tired, it doesn't mean to like make things really challenging and hope they make it. But maybe sometimes when they are, a little bit tired, hold on, sir. That was my bad. It fell right out of my hand and then out of your mouth. So if your babe is a little tired, that could be a nice moment to throw in a little bit of distraction, but you'll have to play it by ear and just see how he's doing. If he's so tired he can't quite function, then adding more difficulty to a task may actually make him fail at that behavior. So make sure it's a happy middle where there could be some, distractions, but it's not to the point where your puppy's like, nope, couldn't possibly, and then they kind of keep failing at the skill. So right here, yes. He's been doing a real good job with his place behavior. So, and remember, for a lot of puppies, if they really have a challenge with kind of relaxing or taking a pause or almost taking a little moment to just chill out, this would be something I would highly recommend to throw into your repertoire of practice just as much as you would your sits or your downs or your loose leash walking. So I'm not saying to expect your puppy to, when they've done nothing for the day and they just woke up from a nap, that they're going to instantly want to go and do stay positions. But it could be one of those things where puppies do get especially wild when they're tired. And if we can start to capture these really great moments of relaxation equals good things for you, then that might help your puppy's perception change around taking those pauses. So remember that regulation at their end is not really there. They may eventually crash at the end of the day when they're finally so tired they can't function, but it's not because they finally figured out how to take a break. So waiting for them to just get to the end of their rope and then keel over is not the greatest option. This is really pretty. So think about being like proactive in what you'd like him to get really good at versus reactive to all of his failures, if that makes sense. Yes. Nice. So let's say he's doing a really great job at his target bed. He's like, oh my gosh, did you drop it? So let's say we want to end the stay. You're going to, again, feed him his last rep. So he's only being fed food in the stay. If we feed him for coming out of it or for a recall, then it could get a little hairy in the sense that it gets a bit confusing. Remember, we want to have a distinct stay position and a distinct wait position. So stay, again, is where he's stationary. You have to go get him. And wait is wait there until I call you to me or release you to go do something or grab something. So if we're going to end this gorgeous stay, I'm going to feed him his last morsel for being in his stay. I'm going to say all done or finished or release or whatever slogan you'd like it to be. And then from there, we're going to try to get him up. He's like, oh, that seems really challenging, but okay. Good job. So no food for getting up. He could maybe do another skill instead. Like maybe he gets up and you want to do a little sitting position. Then you could rock a little sit with him for a moment. But I wouldn't go into calling your babe from your stay because it's going to confuse him. He's going to think, should the stay be for coming when called? And that's why I'm getting my bonus bit. So wiggling becomes much more, again, comfortable or fun for him than holding still. So think about stay again, like freeze tag with room service. We might go bed. And then from here, we might go yes, and then reinforce the moment where he goes on the target bed. And then we might go into, let's say, for example, our down, because that tends to help him stay still better. With Miss R, she's not as comfortable on the dog bed, and she's a little bit more of a little bit, not terribly nervous, but a little bit more anxious. So for some puppies, again, novelty can lead to more feeling of, oh no. She's not doing poorly. It's just she's a little bit more of a sensitive girl, and that's okay. So for her, she prefers to start off with the sit stays versus the down stays, and that's fine. So right now he's rocking that down. I might again make just some distraction noises, move some goodies. Yes. What a smart boy. Yes. He's going to be so tired today. I feel like he's having a big growth spurt, and that can also make them a lot less responsive. So like if you're finding he's not as attentive or not as focused, or for example, he's really struggling with skills you thought he was doing well with, it could very much so be that he's uncomfortable. So remember, I don't know if you remember when you were having growth spurts, like I know for me, like my knees really hurt when I was growing, and I'd have like a lot of leg pain. So, but everybody's different, but I know for pups, they can't really tell you they're uncomfortable. And sometimes the only way they can communicate how they're feeling is sometimes through their inability to offer skills. Yes. He's doing really nice. Gorgeous. So maybe for Mr. Handsome, Mr. T, we'll give him a little breather from working his place behavior. He did a really nice job with those paws up or step up behaviors. So when practicing, just make sure if you're going to be using something from home for your paws up or step up, it's something that doesn't collapse. So sometimes there are some really cool step stools available, but some of them, depending on how he moves, he could collapse them and it could scare him. You want to make sure also it's something that's non-slippery. So like if you're doing a paws up, I'd be careful as to the surfaces in which you're practicing on. Remember that for a lot of puppies, learning how to walk or do anything on tile or hardwood, it's like working on an ice skating rink. Their body and their brain is always compensating for feeling like they're about to slip or get potentially injured. So it does create a lot of fatigue for the pups. So be careful as to where and how often you're doing things on slippery surfaces, because that could lead to injury or feelings of uncomfortable with slippery or slick zones. Good job. So we'll maybe go ahead, we'll give him a little jackpot here with a couple extra bonus bits, and we'll call it a day for Mr. T for this exercise. We'll work on a few other skills. But what a good job he's doing.